Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Heart of Christ Ministry. And today we have a special webinar planned for you. But before I get into that, I just want to take a minute of silence real quick, or a moment of silence. And that was I'm sure if you hadn't heard yet, you'll know now, and you'll know throughout the day that Chadwick Boseman, the guy who played the Black Panther, passed last night from cancer. And so, you know, I never look at death as something to be sad over, but as something to celebrate what an individual has left behind, right? And so whenever we see somebody who has played a significant role in our lives, whether it be entertainment, whether it be politics, whether it be anything, it's important for us to look back at the impact they created through them following their heart, right? And the thing I find so magnificent and just profound about him was that the entire time he was living his dream and he was suffering from colon cancer, the entire duration. I mean, from the time he started, I think the Jackie Robinson biopic, and then all throughout Black Panther and everything, this guy was suffering from colon cancer, and yet he still followed what was in his heart. And I know that is going to inspire so many other people to live their very best, right? Because here's the thing. There's no way of knowing when your number's up, right? There's no way of knowing when the time will come and there will be no more life. So guess what? We got to wake up and we got to make the most of it. And we've got to squeeze as much juice out of life as we possibly can, whatever that looks like for you. It may not be a Hollywood actor. It may be being the very best teacher that you can be. It may be being the very best parent. It may be being the very best grandparent. Whatever it is, wherever your purpose, your calling leaves you, leave a legacy, because nobody knows when our time is up individually, in a sense that we transition on to the next realm. So all you can do is focus on fulfilling what you've been gifted with, right? And inspiring everyone you come into contact with. And you leave it there. You know, as we used to say in football, leave it all out on the field, right? So when you walk off for the last time, there's no regrets. There's no, well, I shoulda, woulda, coulda done this, right? No, you leave it all out on the field. So may he rest well wherever he has transitioned to and continue the next phase of his soulful journey. Thank you to him for all that he's given to us in this life. And it's an inspiration. And I can't even tell you how many people have been inspired by Wakanda Forever. I mean, it's just such a profound thing to watch come alive in this day and age. And so that's terrific. That's terrific. So, yeah, moving on. Starting on a bit somber mood, but it's not even somber. It's just we got to take the time to celebrate. And why wait till people die, right? Why wait till people die to celebrate them? Celebrate them right now, right? Tell them what they mean to you. Tell them what type of impact they've created in your life. And never look back, guys. It's all about right now and what you can give to right now and what life is going to return to you when you do that. All right. So today's message is actually a webinar. So if you got my notification, I posted about Heart of Christ webinar. We're going into the idea of kingdom riches. Okay. Claiming your divine inheritance, claiming your divine trust and bounty. Right. And this means what you think it means. It's your ability to be abundant, to be prosperous, to be wealthy in every single area of your life, not just money, but in everything. Right. And we're going to go through that. We got 5 different bullet points to touch on that are going to bless your life if you're willing to listen, adhere, and implement they will make a difference. But because I love this concept, I'm going to move it to one, because I'm like, okay, if I do two, it's kind of stringing out, the message a little bit more. So what I want to do is I want to do one instead, one segment of 30 seconds, because guess what? You can figure out what you're grateful for. What is your abundance in 30 seconds? And as always, I want you to write it in the comments, because that's going to inspire other people to realize where their abundance is, right? Always focusing on what is here now. And at the end of this round, I am going to share with you what I feel and what I'm happy about to have as a form of abundance. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to give you 30 seconds. Where's my abundance? Beautiful. I mean, there should be tons and tons of stuff to be grateful and thankful for, but I'm going to leave it up to you. Once you get it, put it into the comments, and I will share mine right after this 30-second interval. And turn that up, DJ. Welcome back. Where's my abundance? Fantastic. All right. Once you got what you're grateful for and what's present in your life and what is abundance, I want you to place it into the comments. I'm going to tell you right now what I feel immensely grateful for and what my abundance is. And this is this microphone in my hand. Why? Because it gives me clear and concise communication to where you can hear me. I look back a time when I didn't have a microphone, and like how it used to echo and it would sound so just like I was in the bottom of a well. And so I'm very, very thankful and grateful for this microphone that's allowing me to come to you day after day, time after time, message after message. That is my abundance for today. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, play this game all throughout the day. Don't just use it right now. Play it as much as you can, because it's going to set your mind to be in a place of consistently finding your way to true abundance in your life. And guess what? I forgot something, but I'm going to get it rolling right now. If you have any prayers, any comments, any feedback you'd like to give to the ministry, anything you'd like to share, right? Or you'd like me to expand or extrapolate upon as far as messages goes, write to us at ShaunG04@gmail.com. This originally started just as a prayer request, but you know what? We'll take it a bit further. And today we're going to show you how to pray properly if you don't know. Okay. So ShaunG04@gmail.com. And with that being said, also sow a seed today. I know for a fact today, if you listen, you adhere, and you implement, you're going to benefit from this content. So if that energy wells up in you as a form of love, and you feel the need to share and give in that form of love, in the form of a seed sown, by all means, thank you in advance. Venmo, Heart of Christ Ministry, PayPal, ShaunG04@gmail.com. And Apple Pay is upon request. And with that being said, guys, let's get into it today. A webinar. All right. Heart of Christ Ministry webinar, Kingdom Riches for All, claiming your divine trust and inheritance in bounty. I love that term, bounty. Why? Because bounty is like something you're waiting for, just like that. That is so big and so amazing. And guess what? Everybody has it. Okay. Everybody has it. And I want to tell you, so we're taught to a degree that the kingdom, okay, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is somewhere far off, somewhere up in the sky, somewhere far, far away from us. The kingdom of heaven is within. Right? And Jesus taught us that. The kingdom of heaven is within you, but it exists as divine substance. It exists as potential energy, right? Potential divine energy that can be used to enable you to be, do, and have the very best that you choose. And choose is the perfect word, right? Because once you choose, once you make a choice, you make a decision, the kingdom opens up, right? But there is a way to choose correctly that moves things into action, right? So Jesus Christ said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added on to you. And basically what he's saying is, if you seek the kingdom and you seek it frequently enough and you seek it genuinely enough. And what I mean by genuinely, come to the Father in love, come to the Father in peace, right? The Father being the kingdom, being the subconscious mind. Come with humility, right? Because here's the thing, and I'm going to get to this in number one. It basically tells you why you don't need to come like a savage or a beast trying to get any and everything. You don't need to do that, right? Number one, right here, tells us that the God inside of us, the God in us, desires to bless us with riches more than we desire to be blessed, right? So we want them, definitely. But the God in us desires to give him to us more. But there's a method to releasing that divine inheritance. There is a concept, right? A conceptual practicality that needs to be used in order to have these released. But the first thing you have to understand is that God is eager to bless you, right? He's eager to bless you abundantly. And look, there's no limit, right? There's no limit to what you can have. What you can have is a direct correlation to what is in your consciousness, right? And we talked about consciousness yesterday. I promise you guys, if you hadn't seen that video, go back and watch that video so you can really understand what consciousness is. And it's worth it, because once you know that, guess what? You have the power. And you understand that you can only be blessed to the degree that you have God's consciousness within your heart, within your being. Other than that, that's the only thing that matters. That's how, like I said, we used to think, I grew up believing that good people prospered and bad people didn't, right? Sinners didn't prosper and people who didn't sin did. But that was not the case, right? The quote unquote good people were some of the poorest around. Some of the bad people had all the cars, all the money, all the opportunities to go do what they wanted to do. And I could remember being like 11 years old, scratching my head like, wait a minute, something's not right with this picture. Why? This ain't what they taught me. This is not what was conveyed to me as to how it's supposed to happen. And then I realized, and I began to search God, spirit, divine out for myself. They revealed to me has absolutely nothing to do with what your religion is, has absolutely nothing to do with how good you are, has everything to do with your ability to access the kingdom, your consciousness as it relates to those riches that are given freely. And look, they're given freely for all. There is no stipulation that says you got to shuck and jive and jump through hoops, right? And baptize yourself in a waterfall in Fiji. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And it's that type of belief that can potentially hold us back from receiving God's ultimate goodness, right? So I look at my own life and I found myself wondering, clamoring, stammering, God, why? Why won't you bless me, Lord? Why won't you bless me? And it was that attitude that was keeping me from being blessed, right? Because at that attitude, understand your behavior is indicative of what you're holding within your consciousness, within your state of being, right? So if I'm behaving that way, saying, why, Lord, why won't you bless me? I'm moving from a place of consciousness of complete lack and God can't bless the person that lacks, right? It's a universally impossible, right? Until you move into that state of where you understand that your blessing is received on the inside. That's the only way it can be released, right? It's a universal principle that even works within spiritual matters. But the first thing, if we're going to release those riches that are basically right now existing, and we're going to talk about this in just a bit, if we're going to release those, if we're going to release that divine bounty, that divine trust, here's what we got to know first and foremost. It is God's desire. You know, we're not dealing with an old man in the sky with a long beard who's throwing lightning bolts at people's asses for messing up or making mistakes. No, that's not the case. As exciting as that would be and terrifying, that's not the case, right? It's never been the case. We're dealing with the aspect of energy, which represents the kingdom, which all of everything that you could have ever wanted exists now as that potential energy. And you just have to release it. And how do you release it? You begin to build the consciousness of being blessed. Being blessed is a consciousness. It's a conscious state of being to have that releases a divine trust, a divine inheritance, and a divine bounty. Okay. Number one, God in you desires to bless you with riches more than you want to. Just know that. Like the simple knowing and revelation of that has enough to just take all the heaviness off you, that the Lord itself is seeking to bestow upon you blessings. I have come so that you might have life and you might have it more abundantly. I desire to give it to you, but you can only please God through faith, right? You can only release that through faith. And faith is what? Faith is a consciousness, right? Moving on. Number two, Spirit has blessed us with a consciousness to create an abundant life. And so if you're biblical, the Bible says the Lord has given you not a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. All right. So basically, what this is telling us is that we've been equipped. We've been equipped with a consciousness. We've been equipped with a mind, a body, and a spirit to prosper as much as we choose to prosper. Okay? So what's the problem? If we've been given a spirit of love, of power, and a sound mind, why are we struggling? Okay? If we've been given a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind, why are we frustrated and running in circles? Easy. It's because we're choosing, directly or indirectly, to do that. Okay? So here's something, stay with me. Here's something that happens all the time. We indirectly choose to not be blessed, right? Blessing is trying to run us down, right? Trying to just inundate us in blessing to where we're just swimming in the ocean of God's grace. And we deny it, right? We deny it. We let certain things get in our way, and then they plant seeds. And you'd be shocked at how many people go through this, right? And I say that from pure experience. So much so, there was a time where I could tell God was really attempting to bless me because I had done everything right. And then when the money came and showed up, I began to question it. All of a sudden, that spirit of fear started to come up, and I'm like, well, is this legitimate? Is this, and all that was that consciousness basically trying to reestablish itself in my thinking and my feeling. Here I am getting ready to receive something freely, effortlessly. Just here you go. And I'm having trouble receiving it. So you got to get into the aspect of receiving and allowing that to open you up to all the stuff that's out there, right? And one thing I want to throw in here that comes from just learning how to not judge anything and accept everything. Judge not by appearance, but judge by right appearance. Another quote that Christ said that's in the Bible that basically tells us, follow your heart. Don't follow what's outside. Don't follow what you sometimes can overthink, but follow what your heart is telling you. And how do you do that? You get quiet and you relax into it, right? And you feel that peace and you realize, okay, all that junk just went away, right? So understanding the type of consciousness that's been placed on the inside of you, if you're not living with that consciousness, if you're not living with that state of being, that state of mind, that state of thinking, feeling, and acting, that behavior, guess what? You got to take a step back. Okay. And the beauty is, and this is another message, it's amazing how all these just link up together one day after the other. When you're not in unison with what number 2 says, you can begin to discover what is actually leading you to that place because of what? Because that act, that whole thing of me wanting to refuse that money given to me that time, the mental equivalent of that is me not feeling worthy on the inside, me having a low self-worth that says in the thought form inside of me, why would somebody give me that? Right? And that sounds nuts. It sounds a bit, but it happens when you're conditioned to have low self-worth, low self-esteem, low self-confidence. You question good things that come to you and you wonder if you're if you're worthy, not worried, but worthy enough. Right? So if we feel stuff like that, now is the time to introspectively really dive in to see what could be holding us back. And I'll tell you right now, money is a consciousness. Okay. It's a consciousness that understands and that correlates to just the idea of quote unquote having, right? Having. Just the idea of having. The moment you think you don't have, gone. And in most times, for most of us, if we think we're not having, we think of lack, it charges us up with a sense of fear. And so it makes it fly away even easier. But money is just the consciousness of having. Abundance is the consciousness of having. So you know what the divine teaches us? Have it first. Have it. Have it within first. Have it within the kingdom first. And then it appears in the manifest life, right? You have the consciousness, and we're telling you, you have the consciousness to create an abundant life. Have it. Have it within first. When you have this consciousness, guess what it does? It moves out everything that doesn't belong there, and it's willing to go toe to toe with anything that would stop you from being your very best blessed self, right? So if this consciousness tells you you are divinely wealthy beyond measure, your divine trust and bounty is about to be released to you, and a windfall, a blessing is coming to you, and all of a sudden your old consciousness says, well, how that's going to happen? How do you think you're going to get that? Who's going to give that to you, right? No. First thing you do is you say, okay, where is that coming from? What created that thought form? What inside of me created that thought form? And when you ask that question, the answer is going to come up. And you just keep digging, because sometimes it says it gives you an experience of why that is. And once you get the experience of why did this experience happen, it gives you the actual root of the issue as to why you're thinking that. And then once you get it, because all you got to do with these blocks is you identify them, you release them, you forgive yourself, knowing you were doing the very best that you can with what you had at that moment, and then you let it go and you're free, right? And you move closer to being blessed. Remember, Spirit has blessed us with a consciousness to create an abundant life. It's already here for us. It's having that consciousness first and then watching it unfold in the manifest life is what's important. Number 3, there is an infinite amount of riches to go around, an inexhaustible amount present as substance or divine substance. Okay. And we've talked numerous times about substance basically just being every space of the universe, the air that I'm touching right now. Substance, every single thing, every single piece of universe, no matter how minuscule, every single piece of it is divine substance. And you know what divine substance is? Divine substance is everything. Divine substance is everything. Divine substance is the source of everything. The same substance that produces the cell phone is the same substance that produces $1 million. The same substance that produces this microphone is the same substance that produces this hat. It's all rooted in substance. And so here's what this tells us. Any amount of riches, health, money, happiness, opportunity, whatever it is, exists now. It exists now because God was so wonderful. You know what happened through creation and all that Big Bang, if you want to get into science. Everything was given, but as potential, as substance first, to have the ability to transform itself, alchemize, if you will, into whatever was needed or observed upon, right? So guess what? This substance is moved by your consciousness, okay? It's moved by your consciousness. Remember how we talked about just a few minutes ago? Having within, you develop that consciousness and you have, it's going to move the substance to alchemize itself into whatever it is that you believe you have, whether it be abundance, whether it be perfect health, whether it be a new house, whether it be a vacation, whatever it is, it's going to transform itself into that very thing. But it can't do it unless that consciousness of abundance is on the inside of us. But what we need to know is there is an infinite amount to go around, and there is nothing can be limited in the universe unless we decide with our minds that it will be limited. That's why you see people struggle. That's why you see people never get ahead. That's why you see people never reach their full potential, because they're identifying with the limits as opposed to the limitless self that is the divinity within them. But when you really understand that the universe is unlimited in every capacity, and you know that there's an inexhaustible amount of riches present as substance, game on. It's fair game for you to manifest, to have, first and foremost, in consciousness, everything that you desire that allows you to live the best life that you can, right? And the one thing the universe is not going to do through the law of use is not going to allow you to get greedy, right? But it's going to give you everything you feel you need to live the very best life that you can. And believe that 1 million gazillion %, because once you do, it shows up, right? Once again, nothing can enter your life until it enters your consciousness first. You know what I'm here for? I'm here to plant it in your consciousness that is possible. Because I know nothing can enter your life until it enters your consciousness first. Moving on. The divine desires us to pray for riches the correct way. Okay. So at the beginning of the segment, we talked about the wrong way to pray, right? And a few other times we've talked about the incorrect way to pray. And that is the old man in the sky with the long beard throwing lightning bolts at people's asses, right? You're not praying to that. Okay. You're not praying to that. You know, the most effective thing for prayer, and Mark 11, verse 24 is how Jesus summed it up when he said, basically, whatever you pray for, believing when you pray, you shall have or receive. And in a nutshell, that's kind of what the scripture says. But here's what he was really saying. Okay. And let me give you an example first and foremost. Let's say I'm praying for a new car. You know what I have to do? First and foremost, I have to establish two things. One, that the divine power and substance is available to allow this car to manifest in my life. That's one. And two, I have to cultivate the consciousness of already having this car, already having it answered, that prayer answered on the inside of me. You see, the problem is the reason why prayer doesn't work is prayer becomes traditionally more of a reaching out for something that we are a part of, that we are apart from, right? That we're separate from, rather, not apart. And so if we're reaching for something that we feel separate from, that violates universal law. You can't manifest something you're separate from because everything in the universe is connected, right? So it's impossible. It's impossible if you feel anything is separate from you for you to manifest it. Why? Because nothing can enter your reality until it enters your consciousness first. Okay, you can manifest nothing that is separate from the universe, but thankfully, nothing is separate from the universe, only in mind. But the trouble is, mind will follow that separation, right? That's how powerful our minds are, is that they create the idea that we're separate from stuff, but we're never separate from anything. We're always connected. So guess what? The game is already rigged in your favor. You just have to understand that if I come in prayer, one, knowing that there is a divine benevolent spirit accessed or that exists as substance, energy, love, harmony, intelligence, knowing that that exists, I get that consciousness on the inside of me. Right? That's part one. Part two, whatever it is I'm praying, I know that it's done. Why? Because I can't be separate from anything in the entire universe. I cannot be separate. If I'm separate, it violates law. And if it violates law, it ain't gonna happen, because if that violation is excused, the entire universe falls apart. And that just can't happen. It's too intelligent to have that. So what does it do? It just doesn't, your thing can't be processed. It's like trying to plug in an Android phone with an iPhone charger. You're not going to get anything out of that, right? It's just going to put you at a standstill. So it's important for us to know, especially when it comes to the idea of riches, of money, of prosperity. We have to know what's available and what's possible, and have that faith first, right? You know, I remember said, only faith can please God. You got to have faith that the energy, that the substance exists. And then once you have that, you got to have the faith that it's already done. It already exists as a part of you. Whatever amount of money, whatever car, whatever house, whatever anything, it already exists as one, because that's the only way the universe can exist, unless our minds say otherwise. And when our minds say otherwise, that's why things don't show up. That's why prayers are not answered. But when you really and truthfully understand that this is the correct way to pray, watch how the stuff you pray for shows up, right? Because it's no longer a reach of something separate from you. It's just a connection to that what is already on the inside of you. Simple enough, right? Spirit urges us to release anything that would hinder our ability to prosper. And this is kind of funny because I just explained to you what could hinder your prayers from being answered. And that's the idea of separation. You ever heard the term separatist? Those are people that will stop at nothing to basically create the indelible impression that everyone is separate, right? Racism, separation, right? Black, white, separation. Republican, Democrat, separation, right? Private school, public school, separation. The material life has gotten to the place where it predicates so much separation that we have to be driven with a strong urge and desire from the divine itself to understand that we are one together, right? The world gives us so many ideas, feeding us consistently the idea of separation. And it's because it knows the only power that's available is the power that lies in the concept of oneness, of togetherness. That's where the real power comes alive, right? So the next time we find ourselves judging, and that's the main thing you got to get out of. Because if you're judging, you're basically taking a knife and you're separating yourself from everything in your life. Doesn't matter if it's people or things. When you judge, you take a katana sword and you separate yourself from something or someone that is a part of you, no matter how eccentric the situation or circumstance may be. There is no need to separate. Ever. Separation hinders prosperity, right? When you choose to believe in lack, right? When you choose to believe in your debt as opposed to the divine substance that exists as abundance, you're separating yourself from the financial flow that could come into your life potentially, right? When you say, I'm not smart, you're separating yourself from your natural divine intelligence that allows you to work successfully with ease. You see where I'm going with this? Release anything that would hinder you, because guess what? You've been equipped, empowered with all the stuff that you need to really make a difference, to really be amazing in every sense of the word. But it's when we choose to separate ourselves, right? When we choose to separate, here's the thing. Excuse me. Doesn't matter what religion you are. Doesn't matter what you worship. Doesn't matter what gets you through the day. Guess what? We're all one, right? And I owe you the respect to not just allow you to believe in what you believe, but to not criticize you for believing what you believe. Because ultimately, religion, spirituality, philosophy, all that stuff gets back to truth, to understanding, to love. And if somebody else decides to take the journey of Hinduism or Christianity, take a different journey to love that way, I respect that. I can accept that. I don't need to criticize you, right? I don't need to criticize you, but it took me some time to get here because I reached a point in my life where I'm not going to separate myself from something that's connected to me, from someone that's connected to me. And the truth of the matter is I'm connected to everything, everyone, every aspect of this universe I am connected to. So if I separate myself, I'm only hindering my ability to prosper. When I say prosper, it's not just in the term of money. It's in the term of growth. It's in the term of belief systems. It's in the term of relationships. It's in the term of being able to have a greater capacity to love. So I begin to release every single thing that is geared towards separation. And here's what I find. I find that my life has gotten so much easier because I'm completely acceptant of everything and everyone. There is a peace that is unimaginable. I am in a relaxed, tranquil state. And in a relaxed, tranquil state, I realize that everything that I could have ever desired begins to flow to me easily. Why? Because I'm no longer cut off through judgments. I'm no longer cut off through conditioned beliefs. I am open and receptive to everything. And that includes my prosperity. That includes my divine riches. That includes my bounty. Why? Because I am in complete divine love, a complete state of divine love, because I've released everything that would hinder me. Before we wrap this up, get into this habit. Nobody's any better than anybody else. Nobody's any, we're different from a human standpoint, but ultimately at our core, a human heart beats the same way in every single soul. There's a blueprint to that. That right there tells you how much more we are alike. We forget that, right? That our bodies work the exact same way. That's why medicine is possible. All this stuff is possible because everybody's the same within, pretty much. We got to remember that. And that's a great metaphor for life. When we look within, everything's the same. It's only when we focus on outside that we start to see differences and we start to begin to separate ourselves. Focus on within, and you'll realize that you're more alike than you could have ever imagined. And that is the ultimate ability to realize true divine riches, and true divine riches begin with love. It's all to it. Understand, allow, accept more love into your life. You prosper automatically, without any question. Without any question. And that wraps up today's message. Oh, yes. They're always longer with the webinars, but it's all good. So I want to encourage you here to share this message because, if you're willing to take the time to sit through and receive, adhere and implement, it can make a huge difference in your life, right? If you've watched it and you've enjoyed it and you have questions or anything like that, you have prayers, write to this ministry, ShaunG04@gmail.com. I'll get to it as soon as I can. Any feedback is welcome. We're here to help. We're here to inspire. We're here to empower, and we're here to correspond if we need to. Okay. So use that to your advantage. ShaunG04@gmail.com. We'll get to it as soon as we can. And then last but not least, so for me, this is one of my more powerful messages because it went in a bit of direction that I never really planned it. I just kind of surrendered to that flow, but it really inspired me to truthfully and utterly understand, how do we really make the most of our life here as spiritual beings having a human experience? And that is basically giving ourselves and giving everyone a great opportunity to plant a consciousness that expands, that opens us up to the real truth of who we're designed to be. And that is kingdom prince and princesses. Is that right? Princess. I think I said it right. But anyway, you get my idea. You get what I'm saying. And so it's up to me to implant into your consciousness ways that can help you to prosper. And not just money, but in every capacity. And so with that being said, this message has helped me to prosper as a teacher, as a minister. So with that being said, if you feel the same way, if you feel that you've been inspired, if you feel that this has given you a new measure of consciousness on life as it relates to you now, by all means, allow that energy, allow that gratitude to move you to sow a seed today. Venmo, Heart of Christ Ministry, PayPal, ShaunG04@gmail.com, Apple Pay upon request. Thank you in advance for your generosity and your kindness. And just know the seed that you sow never leaves your life. It only expands in your life and into the lives of others. And it's that idea, that one seed, that can start an expansion of financial prosperity into your life. Why? Because it puts you in a state of giving, and the consciousness of giving says, I have more than enough. Plain and simple. Thanks again for your kindness. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are signing off today's message webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. May the presence of God in me bless and honor the presence of God in you. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Take care. Every dream begins with a vision that sees everything before anyone else ever can. A vision that ignites the endless power to make all your dreams come true.